We send our sincere sympathy and condolences to the family members of Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. She passed on Friday evening, and of course, this changes things regarding the up and coming 2020 election. President Trump was finishing one of his campaign rallies in Minnesota. As he left the platform, it was the press that informed him of Ruth Bader Ginsburg's passing.
She just died? Wow. I didn't know that. You're telling me now for the first time. She led an amazing life. What else can you say? She was an amazing woman. Whether you agreed or not, she was an amazing woman who led an amazing life. I'm actually sad to hear that. I am sad to hear that. Thank you very much.
In the coming days, we'll get into the actual record of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. She was a liberal. She was appointed to the court by President Bill Clinton. But right now, our thoughts and concerns are obviously in a respectful manner for the Ginsburg family as they grieve, as they will obviously have to go through not even the ability to mourn privately. This will become very, very public. And of course, it's going to become very, very political. So we do want to be respectful in that manner, but obviously, as the days go forward, we will have to deal with the actual record of Ruth Bader Ginsburg and where she was. Now, we can say that she and former Justice Alito were friends, even though they were philosophically and ideologically at polar opposites. They apparently were very good friends. I'm sorry, Justice Scalia and Justice Ginsburg, very good friends. And when Justice Scalia died under very strange circumstances, it was Ruth Bader Ginsburg who came forward when the left was nearly euphoric over it and talked about what a brilliant man she thought he was, and that she would miss their conversations, their friendly debates, and just the friendship that they had for one another. They were at opposite sides, but they had good disagreements with one another. Justice Ginsburg has also been very complimentary of Justice Brett Kavanaugh, and you remember the absolute evisceration that the media and the Democrats put that man and his family through, and the trumped up charges, and the witnesses coming out of nowhere with their painful experiences, and yet there was no corroborating evidence. There was nothing to substantiate any of the claims, yet the media and the Democrats treated it as if it was absolute gospel truth. And yet it was Ruth Bader Ginsburg who came to the defense of Brett Kavanaugh and said what a wonderful justice he was, and that he had appointed more female law clerks than anyone else on the Supreme Court, and she was very complimentary of him. So Ruth Bader Ginsburg is one of those individuals that ideologically we would vehemently disagree with her on some of her decisions, understandings, and application of the law. But as a person, as an individual, and of course, we who are Christians, obviously, we grieve with her family and we wish them well, but now it's going to get political. And it's already starting, and the nasty is already coming from the left. The nasty is not simply that they're demanding that President Trump not be allowed to name a replacement, and that there certainly should be no hearings, because Dianne Feinstein has come out and said there will be no hearings, there will be no confirmation of any justice appointed by Donald Trump before the election. Well, Mitch McConnell has already said if the president puts somebody forward, they're going to have hearings, and they will hold a vote whether to confirm or not. So, in the one sense, game on. But that's not where the left went bananas on Twitter Friday night. The left just absolutely, F Ginsburg. I'm not kidding. F Ginsburg. Why didn't you resign when Obama was president? Why did you die under Donald Trump so that he gets to pick another and I don't mean one or two tweets like that. Hundreds of tweets like that. And the reason being, game up for the left to steal this election. Let's get into this just a little bit. Understand what was happening. They were setting this up because they have used coronavirus twofold. One, to kill the economy, especially in blue states, with the understanding, with the governors who are willingly complying, killing their own states, killing their own economy, facing vicious backlash even from voters who voted for them and supported them, who don't like the draconian lockdown measures, don't like being held prisoner in their own state, in their own hometowns. But yet these governors were willing to do that with the idea that a Biden administration would start cutting checks and reimbursing their states for the billions of dollars in losses that they're taking in incomes and taxes and services being able to be provided. So that was their roll of the dice, to use coronavirus to kill the economy, create a recession, and turn people against Donald Trump. The other thing that they used the coronavirus for was this fear that we can't go out and vote safely. We can't do it. That's why I keep telling you, I do not participate in the mask of fear. I don't wear the mask. Again, it's not about health. If you know and understand anything about how masks work and don't work, I'm sorry. This whole idea of wearing a mask is all about a symbol. It's symbolism. Not just a symbolism of show people that you care by wearing the mask. No. That's just the little PR stunt they pull. What they want that mask to do is you and I see each other in masks. We're to be afraid. There's a deadly virus. The president didn't do enough. I saw a report earlier today that had the president had a national mask program right at the very beginning, 90% of the people who died would be alive today. What type of journalistic hogwash is that? What type of borderline traitorous, and yes, I use that word traitorous. I mean, it's a week ago, they were trying to run stories that the president thought of the military fallen, in particular those who died in World War I and in World War II, that he doesn't like to visit the cemeteries of our fallen heroes because, quote, they're losers, and the president has never said that. 20 people who were present when this conversation took place have gone on the record and said it never happened. We're left with 4 unnamed anonymous sources. Well, you know what? Time to name them, because 20 people have gone on record and said that never happened. So they just keep creating this malicious, fake, false news. Now, because Joe Biden has changed his position 4 times on if there should be a mask mandate or not. Why, if the president had a national mask mandate right in the very beginning, 90% of the people who died would be alive. This was a headline all day today on various mainstream media outlets. How do you prove or disprove something like that? Well, you can't, and they know that, and they can get away with it. And Joe Biden's had 4 position on masks. I don't wear a mask. In fact, I was in a national store today. Well, it was Kroger supermarket. And I carry my mask with me. I do not wear the mask. And the reason I carry the mask, and it never happened until today, and I finally got to say it. I was going through the store, getting all of my groceries, and it's Friday, and on Friday, I buy my wife flowers. Yes, I know. Go ooh, ah, ah. So I bought some flowers, and I was now heading to checkout, and a young assistant manager, I saw him standing there with his box of surgical masks, and, he was, sir, do you need a mask? And I just smiled back, said, no, I have one with me, thank you. And he said, oh, okay. And I just went and got in line and bought my groceries and left. I don't wear the mask anywhere. I just don't. I went into a convenience store later in the day to get a Diet A&W root beer. It's my one treat a week. Don't begrudge me of that. I've lost nearly 100 pounds in a year, and I do on Friday nights, I give myself a little treat, and one of those treats I like on occasion is a diet A&W root beer. So I ran into the quick grab to get a diet A&W. I didn't wear the mask. The young man behind the counter, again, it's a national quick grab chain store. There was a guy that I walked past, big construction guy. He had his mask on. He saw me without the mask, took his off. I get in line behind him. By the time I get up there, the person working behind the register, when I walked in, I saw them wearing their mask. By the time I got up there, when he saw the construction guy take his off, the guy behind the counter took his off, which is why I don't want to name the store. I don't want the employee to get in trouble. And so, the whole mask is this symbolic fear, be afraid. And the Democrats have used coronavirus to terrify people, in particular in blue states, that you can't vote in person safely. Can't do it. Can't do it. So mail in. And they have been gearing up, lawyering up with state Supreme Courts to petition the courts. There's a little phrase, if you haven't heard it, and I've done a couple other monologues about this, they're calling it the red mirage. The red mirage is a term cooked up by the Bloomberg people that on election night do not believe the results, that there's going to be a red mirage. It's going to, quote, look like there was a landslide for Donald Trump. But wait, and this is why Hillary Rodham Clinton came out and told Joe Biden, don't concede. Do not concede. That we've got lawyers and we're going to fight this thing to the bitter end, and eventually you will be declared the president. In other words, what they were setting up, don't miss this, what they were setting up was to petition the state Supreme Courts to extend the voting deadlines beyond November 3rd to receive these mail-in ballots. What they want to be able to do is see on election night what the results are, and then figure out which states they have to concoct extra ballots. They would get those Democratic states and those Democratic Supreme Courts to extend the voting deadline another month, 2 months, whatever it takes, to put together the ballots they need. Now they knew, don't miss it, this is why the liberals on Twitter are going out of their mind. What they were hoping for was that eventually it would get to, the Supreme Court. Remember George Bush versus Al Gore. And the Supreme Court stepped in because they felt they had a duty to not allow the country to be continually divided and ripped apart, and they weren't going to let it go to January, where if an election has not been certified, then the Speaker of the House becomes the president. Can you imagine having to hear the words President Pelosi? Think about that. Chew on that. So the idea was, let these state Supreme Courts declare that yes, we can wait another month or two while the mail-in ballots keep coming in. Obviously, the Trump administration was going to fight that, and it would get to the Supreme Court. Here's where it's important now. They've lost the vote. It doesn't even matter if President Trump gets his nominee in before the election now. If he gets his nominee through and confirmed, yes, the Supreme Court, obviously, with a 5-4 vote, is going to vote to certify the election results. Because, by the way, it is going to be a landslide election night. And I'm one of the few conservative voices saying this. Others are saying, it's going to be a landslide. But, no. Listen to me. President Trump is going to win New York. I'm serious. He's going to win New York. Why do I say that? It's simple. When he got the endorsement of the police union, that was huge. Huge! Or if President Trump would say, huge. It was huge. 60,000 police officers in New York City alone. They're going to vote for Trump, which means their wives are, which means their extended family, their fathers, their father-in-laws, etc., etc., etc. The entire New York State police system, they're going to vote for Trump. Trump is going to take New York. Trump is going to take California. Even the liberals in California don't like living in concentration camps. They don't like living in permanent lockdown. They can't go anywhere. They can't do anything. They've lost their jobs. They've lost everything. The only one sounding the alarm on the left about all this is Michael Moore. He was right before. He said it's even more dangerous now than before. In other words, he said, the Rust Belt was going to give the country to President Trump. And they did. He's now saying, hey, this mask, man, all this stuff, it's not working. I've been saying that. So go ahead, Joe. Keep talking about masks and mandates and eternal lockdowns. You know, the political pundits keep talking about, well, he's behind in Wisconsin. And, you know, he won Wisconsin last time, and if he hopes to hang on to the White House, he's going to have to win it again. See, these guys do everything old thought, old school. What they're not factoring in, and Corey Lewandowski, who was at one time the campaign director for Trump back in 2015, even Corey Lewandowski said they're not taking into account that Trump could possibly pick up states that he didn't win before. Bum. I've taken into account. I've talked about it right here. I'm putting my name and rep right on the line. Trump is going to win deep blue states. I'm telling you, he's going to. And so the media is already kind of catching on to this, and some Democrat operatives are already catching on to this, so they've coined the phrase red mirage. So as all these election results come in election night, it is going to look like a tsunami for Trump. And by the way, it is. It's going to be a legitimate landslide. What they're going to try to convince you of is, no. Once we get all the mail-in ballots counted, because all the old Democrats and all the Democrats who are health conscious, didn't want to go out and vote, and we got to make sure we get all those, you're going to hear all those old cliched argument, every vote counts, and there'll be all these impassioned pleas and PSAs, and Hollywood will get involved, and Hollyweird will do their thing, let every vote count. It could be still the middle of December, no, there's still ballots coming in, we need to count them. That's what they were counting on, and it ultimately would land with the Supreme Court. And they were hoping that obviously, the court is supposedly, 5-4 conservative, but it's really not, because Chief Justice Roberts, a gift to us from the Bush dynasty, is a liberal. And again, some of you never Trumpers, some of you rhinos that I can't support Trump because I'm a true conservative. Donald Trump has furthered more of the conservative agenda than you phony rhinos ever have, including George H.W. Bush, W. Bush, and Witness Protection Romney. What a fiasco you are. What an absolute turncoat traitor you are. We know where Roberts would flip and flop. I mean, thanks to Roberts, we got Obamacare. I mean, we know where Roberts was going to land on all of this. So, he won't do that, I don't believe, if it comes down to if you factor him in as a liberal judge now. With Ruth Bader Ginsburg gone, that means there's 4 liberals and 4 conservatives. It would be a tie. That's if Trump doesn't get a new nominee on the board, on the Supreme Court before the election. It's 4-4 tie. I don't think Roberts, at that point, votes for a tie. Because one thing about Roberts, he is a career animal. And what I mean by that is he's thinking about history and legacy, and he likes the fact he's going to go down in history as having, supported same-sex marriage and Obamacare and the other ways that he has traitorously let us down. But in history, looking at an election, if he doesn't vote to break the tie, in other words, if he doesn't decide to go vote then with the conservatives, so it's a 5-3 decision, then what happens is they go based on precedent. And based on precedent, that would be the Bush-Gore decision. And the Bush-Gore decision was to give it to Bush because he was ahead in the count on election night. And so because he was ahead in the count on election night, the Supreme Court stepped in and said we can't divide the nation this way. That would then become the precedent setting for the Trump decision. But I don't think Roberts wants it to be decided on precedent. He wants to have his place in history. He will vote at that point. So whether if President Trump gets a new nominee on, the election fraud by mail-in ballot is over. Even if he doesn't, more than likely, Roberts wants not just to be a footnote in history, but wants to be front and center in history. President Trump has got it. This is why the libloons have taken to Twitter and gone ballistic, saying F you to a dead woman. I don't, on any shape or form, like nor agree with the decisions and policies and outlook of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. But to say those kind of vile things about her on the night she passed, this shows you that liberalism really is like, you've heard other political pundits say it, it's like a mental disorder. It really is an infectious disease deadlier than coronavirus. So, moving forward, Mr. President, make your nominee. Mr. McConnell, stick to your word. Make this happen. And by the way, you never Trumpers. President Trump, give us 3 conservative justices, 3 justices that will adhere to the Constitution, and you still can't bring yourself to vote for him, then you're not really conservative. You're not. You've been playing a game. It's how you've made your money. You've had your fundraisers and you write your books and you pontificate and you get paid lots of money to speak and be called an expert and, et cetera, and you get to be a talking head on cable news channels. But at the end of the day, you're in it for the money. Real conservatives understand how important President Trump has been for the country in the reshaping of our judicial process in the Supreme Court level and the lower court level. He's taking over the Ninth Circuit. For that issue alone, 4 more years. It's going to be interesting. Again, our condolences to the Ginsburg family. That said, game on.